Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a book that really isn't just read, you sort of experience it. It's a work that genuinely challenges your understanding of resilience, purpose, and, well, what it truly means to be human. We're talking about Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah,
And this isn't your typical self-help guide, not at all. It's this profound blend of memoir and psychology, born from just unimaginable suffering, yet somehow it's overflowing with universal wisdom.
and that's exactly why it hit so hard, I think. Frankl lived through the unspeakable horrors of the Holocaust, but instead of being completely destroyed, he actually started making these profound observations about human behavior right there under the most extreme duress imaginable.
Right.
And these weren't just, academic thoughts. They were truths essential for survival itself. Truths that are amazingly just as vital for navigating our own everyday struggles. Things like, an unexpected job loss, a personal crisis, or even just that nagging feeling of aimlessness that can sometimes creep in.
That emptiness, yeah.
Exactly. So our mission, really, in this deep dive is to pull out those core lessons from his incredible story and his, frankly, groundbreaking philosophy. So you, our listener, can maybe see how to apply them to your own life, your own journey. What's just fascinating, though, is how circumstances that extreme could possibly yield insights that apply to basically everyone.
It really is. So, okay, let's go back to that foundation, that unimaginable experience. Try to picture Frankl's reality for a second. Just imagine being stripped of absolutely everything that makes you. Your family, your name gone, your clothes, your profession, even your identity just boiled down to a number. He was thrown into Nazi concentration camps, places literally engineered to dehumanize people, to destroy them systematically. The constant hunger, the freezing cold, the brutal, endless labor, the ever-present threat of death. It's a level of suffering that honestly most of us can only grasp intellectually. It's hard to feel it.
Yeah, impossible almost.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Like you said, even in that absolute hell, Frankl wasn't just a victim. He was still a clinician. He was observing the human spirit.
And those observations were just, well, extraordinary, especially given where he was. He noticed this stark difference among the prisoners. Some tragically just succumbed. They lost all hope, all will to live,
Yeah.
and you could almost see them deteriorate physically and mentally,
Yeah.
often frighteningly quickly.
Yeah.
But then there were others in the exact same horrific conditions. These people found some way to endure. They held on to a reason, maybe just a small flicker of purpose. Perhaps it was a loved one they desperately hoped to see again, or maybe some unfinished work they felt they had to complete, or even just a belief deep down that their suffering somehow had a future meaning. And Frankl realized, this wasn't just random chance. This insight became the bedrock, really, of his entire life's work. This profound understanding that finding meaning isn't just like a psychological comfort blanket. It's absolutely central to human survival. It's a fundamental drive, maybe just as powerful as, say, the will to pleasure or the will to power that other psychologists talked about.
It's genuinely astounding, isn't it, that in a place literally designed to crush the human spirit, Frankl saw the huge impact of what seemed like tiny, almost invisible moments of hope. He tells these stories, these anecdotes that really stick with you. Like, he'd see prisoners sharing a tiny piece of their already meager bread with a friend. Think about that, an act of selfless giving when you have almost nothing.
Incredible generosity.
Or maybe, seeing one prisoner tell a story from their past, something that brought a genuine, if fleeting, smile to another prisoner's face, even there.
Yeah.
These weren't like grand acts of rebellion or anything. They were small, poignant acts of connection, of shared humanity, just clinging to a purpose beyond staying alive physically.
Exactly.
These moments, he realized, were the threads that kept people from completely falling apart. They made survival actually meaningful.
Precisely. It wasn't about the big dramatic gestures. It was often about the quiet, internal acts of defiance against despair. Frankl himself, he found meaning by imagining himself lecturing about his experiences after the war in a free world, or just holding on to the memory of his wife.
Right.
These internal resources, these little pockets of purpose, that was often what separated those who managed to endure from those who sadly perished. It's just such a powerful testament to human resilience, even when everything on the outside is taken away.
So Frankl didn't just survive these horrifying experiences, though. He used them. He built an entire psychological framework out of them. He called it logotherapy, which comes from the Greek word logos, meaning, right?
That's right, meaning.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit.
Okay.
We just talked about how his observations in the camps showed this deep human need for meaning. How did he translate that into, like, a therapy, an actual approach?
That's a really crucial step, yeah, because it's where his personal story really becomes a universal system. Logotherapy basically, at its heart, is a therapeutic approach, but it's focused directly on helping people discover and connect with meaning in their lives, especially when they're facing unavoidable suffering, or that feeling Frankl called the existential vacuum, that sense of emptiness or purposelessness.
Okay.
It's quite different from some other approaches that might focus maybe solely on resolving past traumas or just trying to get rid of symptoms by avoiding pain. Frankl's idea was pretty radical. We don't necessarily need to avoid pain. We need to find meaning within it, or sometimes despite it.
Yeah.
He suggested that the main driving force in humans is this will to meaning. And when that will gets frustrated, that's when we experience distress, anxiety, despair.
So it's not about pretending the suffering isn't there. It's about actively engaging with it, asking, okay, what can this teach me? Is there any meaning I can possibly find here? That's a huge shift in perspective.
It really is. Precisely. And this leads straight into one of Frankl's most powerful points, a concept that really anchors logotherapy. It's the idea that while we can't always control what happens to us in life, the external events, the difficulties, the unfairness, we can always control our internal response, our attitude towards those events.
Okay.
And this choice, the choice of our attitude, he argued, that represents our ultimate freedom, the last of the human freedoms.
Wow. That sounds incredibly powerful. And, on one level, it feels almost obvious, maybe.
Yeah.
But when you really sit with the weight of that statement, that even in the absolute worst circumstances, the choice of your attitude is still yours, it kind of shifts everything, doesn't it? But some might hear choosing your attitude and think, well, that sounds a bit simplistic, maybe even dismissive of real intense pain. Is it just about thinking positive, or is there more to it?
That's a really important distinction to make. No, it's definitely not about some kind of naive optimism or just papering over the pain. It's about finding a meaningful response when suffering is truly unavoidable.
Okay.
Frankl wasn't suggesting people should just, cheer up in a concentration camp. That would be absurd. He was observing that some individuals, even though they had every external freedom stripped away, could still exercise an inner freedom. They could choose how to bear their suffering. Maybe they chose to offer comfort to someone else, or to recall a beautiful memory, or find some dignity in their endurance, or just hold on to a future purpose.
That inner freedom.
Yes, that inner freedom, he argued, can never truly be taken away from us. Which raises another important point, I think. If we connect this to the bigger picture, how does having goals or dreams or responsibilities that are beyond just ourselves, how does that provide the life direction and purpose Frankl's talking about?
Ah, that's a fascinating link. So it's not just about what we choose for ourselves, but also what we choose beyond ourselves, like looking outwards.
Exactly right. Frankl saw that even a seemingly small purpose could provide immense motivation. Something as simple as caring for a fellow prisoner or wanting to finish a specific task, or like his own deep desire to rewrite his book manuscript, which had been confiscated.
Right, he lost his manuscript.
He did. He called this idea self-transcendence, basically, looking beyond yourself, finding meaning in something or someone greater than just your own immediate needs or survival. This future orientation, this sense of having a task waiting for you or a person counting on you, it becomes this powerful anchor. It's the why that helps us bear almost any how, right? That famous Nietzsche quote Frankl often used. Without that focus on the future, that sense of responsibility, despair could set in really quickly, he observed.
So logotherapy isn't just about navel-gazing or introspection then. It's really about action, too, about finding something to do for a purpose bigger than yourself. It sounds like a deeply practical philosophy, surprisingly practical, even though it came from such extreme conditions.
It really is.
Which brings us beautifully, I think, to the practical side for you, listening now. How do we take these incredibly deep insights, born from Frankl's unique, harrowing experience, and actually apply them to our everyday lives? Because, hopefully none of us will face what Frankl did, but we all face challenges. Big ones, small ones, all the time.
Precisely. And Frankl's work offers some remarkably clear, actionable takeaways that can genuinely shift how you navigate your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, think of purpose as your ultimate fuel for resilience. Whatever challenge you're facing right now, maybe a demanding project at work, a personal setback, a health issue, maybe just feeling stuck or unmotivated, try pausing and asking yourself, Why am I actually doing this? What's the meaning behind this effort or this struggle?
Huh.
This isn't just like abstract philosophy. It's about connecting to a deeper why. That why can give you strength you didn't even know you possessed. For instance, enduring a really tough week at work feels different if you frame it as providing for your family or contributing to something meaningful rather than just, a pile of tasks.
Makes sense.
Second key takeaway. Remember, that choice is your ultimate freedom. You might not control all the external stuff, the economy, what other people do, unexpected illnesses, traffic jams, but you absolutely control your response to them,
Yeah.
your attitude.
Right.
Now, this isn't about blaming yourself for bad circumstances, not at all. It's about recognizing where your real power lies. It's that internal locus of control that no external force can actually touch. Think about being stuck in traffic, like I mentioned.
Mm.
You can get furious and stressed.
Yay.
Or you could choose to listen to a podcast, maybe practice some mindfulness, or just accept it as, well, part of the journey today.
Yeah.
The traffic is the same, but your experience of it changes completely based on your choice.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Third, and this is maybe the toughest one, but also perhaps the most transformative,
Mm.
suffering can have meaning. Life isn't always fair. It isn't always easy. That's just, well, reality. But Frankl teaches us that if you actively look for meaning within hardship, if you ask, what could this moment be teaching me? How might it be shaping my character? What does it reveal about my values? It actually has the power to transform your entire experience of that hardship. It shifts you from being just a passive victim of circumstances to being an active participant in your own growth, even through pain. Frankl often talked about tragic optimism, which sounds like a contradiction, but it's the ability to remain optimistic despite pain, guilt, death, the unavoidable stuff, by finding meaning in them. It's not about liking suffering, but about finding a way to grow from it.
Tragic optimism. I like that.
And finally, number 4, focus on the future and on responsibilities beyond yourself. Having goals, having responsibilities that stretch beyond just today, beyond just yourself, provides really crucial motivation and hope. It gives you something to strive for, it's something to live for. It guides you forward, especially through difficult patches. This could be, a personal project you care about, a commitment you've made to your community, or even just the simple, profound responsibility of caring for a pet or a loved one. These external commitments can actually pull us forward when our own internal energy feels low.
That last point, focusing on the future and responsibility, that feels so critical. It gives us that direction, doesn't it? That why you mentioned.
Exactly.
So maybe consider this, if you're listening. The very next time you face something tough, and it could be big or small, right? A difficult conversation, a looming deadline, a personal disappointment, even just a moment of feeling really down, just pause, take a breath, and then maybe ask yourself, okay, what can I learn here? How could this moment maybe shape me for the better, make me more resilient or more compassionate, perhaps more understanding? What purpose can I possibly find in this experience, even if it's just the purpose of enduring it with some grace and integrity?
And please know, you really don't need some grand, earth-shattering philosophical answer to those questions. Often it's the small things. Even a small, seemingly insignificant answer like, I'm enduring this for my kids, or this will make me stronger for next time, or I can learn patience here. Even that can dramatically change how you handle the challenge. It just shifts your perspective, like we said, from feeling crushed by circumstance to actively engaging with it, finding a way through, and asserting that ultimate freedom Frankl talks so much about. It's about taking that internal step, no matter how small it feels.
So to sort of wrap up this deep dive, man's search for meaning is clearly far, far more than just a book on a shelf. It's really a powerful guide to living intentionally, living purposefully, and living with a kind of profound resilience. Frankl's own experiences stand as this undeniable testament that even the most extreme inhumane hardship, humans are still capable, profoundly capable of finding hope, finding purpose, and finding that ultimate freedom to choose their attitude and shape their inner world.
That really is the core message we hope you take away today. Life will present struggles. That's just a given for every single one of us.
Yeah.
There's no escaping it entirely. But your unique response to those struggles and how you actively, consciously search for meaning within them, that is what ultimately shapes your journey. It defines your character, it builds your resilience, and really determines your ability to truly flourish, not just survive. Meaning isn't some luxury item, reserved for philosophers or saints sitting on mountaintops. Frankl showed it's essential to human flourishing. And crucially, it's always within your reach. It's not something you have to invent out of thin air, but something you discover within your life, within your experiences, within your choices.
And as you go about your week, maybe we can leave you with just one final thought to reflect on. Every choice you make, every small act of courage you show, and every moment you take to reflect and seek purpose, it all brings you closer to a life filled with profound meaning. Remember, even in the darkest moments, you always, always have the power to find meaning. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.